From the point of view of drama, we can analyze several aspects. I'll begin with the basic elements that make up a play. The setting is Brooklyn, New York during the 1950s. The protagonist is Eddie Capone, a longshoreman who lives with his wife Beatrice and his niece Catherine. The main conflict is that Eddie has grown rather possessive of Catherine and that he has ulterior motives with her. The family puts up Beatrice's cousins from Italy, Marco and Rodolfo. They go to the USA to earn a living, as in this country the working hours are better paid. The climax of the play comes when, after Eddie rattled on the Italians, the Immigration Bureau arrests Marco and Rodolfo. An important role is played by soliloquies. Two characters are given these special moments. Alfieri, who sets the context and gives us explanation for other characters' actions, and Eddie, who gives us a glimpse of his feelings and thoughts through them. Finally, there are three instances of foreshadowing. First, when Eddie tells the story of a boy who ratted on his family, who were illegal immigrants. Later in the story, we learn that Eddie will do what he wants his family not to do. Second, when Eddie loses to Marco on a challenge of lifting a chair with a hand. In the end, Eddie will also lose to Marco. And the third instance is when Alfieri tells Eddie to let Catherine go and warns him that no one will support him if he keeps the conflict with the Italians going. The final aspects I'll take into account are Aristotle's characteristics of the tragic hero present in the play A View from the Bridge. Aristotle said that a man doesn't become a hero until he can see the root of his downfall, and this is precisely Eddie's fatal mistake or hamartia. He cannot acknowledge his desires, which he expresses as jealousy and strict control over Catherine. The peripeteia, or reversal of fortune, would be the arrival of the Italian men, or when Catherine starts hanging with Rodolfo, as this leads to Eddie's downfall. The moment of recognition, or anagnorisis, would be when Eddie acknowledges his troubled feelings, but he has no time to do so. Instead, he starts a fight and dies. From the point of view of psychological criticism, I'll discuss two authors. I'd like to begin with Freud. Freud poses the theory that our psyche is divided into unconscious and conscious, and afterwards in three parts: id, ego, and superego. Analyzing the characters, we can see that Eddie represents the ego, a force that tries to balance between the id, the pleasure, and the superego, the morality. However, Eddie sometimes behaves unconsciously, for example being overprotective and jealous of Catherine with no apparent reason. There's a particular scene in Act 2 when Eddie appears in Catherine's apartment drunk. We know that drinking alcohol lowers the inhibition barrier our minds bring forward, and as we can see, the id takes control of the situation. Eddie insults and kisses both Catherine and Rodolfo. Moving on, I found Jung's theory very interesting. To analyze A View from the Bridge, I chose Eddie's character, and I decided to categorize his attitudes according to Jung's propositions. Eddie's anima, the soul image or life force that causes a person to act, are the efforts to make his family live the best life they can and working hard. His persona, the image he shows to others, is that of a nice, hospitable and generous man who sometimes has issues when his pride or masculinity are questioned. Finally, his shadow, or darker side, is that of a jealous, repressed, possessive and overbearing man, and he shows this during his two outrages. After his chatter with Alfieri, when he reports Marco and Rodolfo to the Immigration Bureau to stop Catherine's wedding, and the last scene in which he uses a knife to regain his pride. Throughout the play, Eddie shows many signs of repression. He represses his feelings for Catherine. His empathy towards Rodolfo and his manners are probably a sign of displacement. He is redirecting his repressed feelings onto another person. Rodolfo is not ashamed of his manners, and he is the man Catherine loves, everything Eddie wished for. From the perspective of multiculturalism, I could analyze the clash of culture present in this literary work, the American and the Italian cultures. The most explicitly represented is Italian culture. They are poor but hard-working people, ready to sacrifice their homeland for a better life, and it stands for something that binds them together. American culture is presented as one with social mobility full of possibilities, but also as a struggled society as regards tradition. Family and community values confront the American law system. The Brooklyn Bridge is a symbol of this clash. It connects the Red Hook in Brooklyn with Manhattan, which represents the American dream and the modern intellectual elitist life. Whereas Red Hook stands for a community life, full of industries and situations that escape the law's control.